Welcome to the Healers Café, conversations on health and healing with Manon Bolliger, a retired and deregistered naturopathic physician with 30 plus years of experience. Here you will discover engaging and informative conversations between experienced healers, covering all aspects of healing, the personal journey, the journey of the practitioner, and the amazing possibilities for our own body and spirit.
So welcome to the Healers Café, and today I have with me Sarah Cormack, and she started her career as a cancer radiation therapist, then became a mind, body, spirit practitioner, especially as a registered holistic nutritionist and a certified Bowen therapist. And currently she has created her own passionate program incorporating the work of many amazing leaders, and is serving the community of the mid-age awakening, let's say. So I'm really thrilled to have you here. And yeah, why don't you take it from there? If I've missed any really important stepping stones, let me know.
No, thank you, Manon. It's great to be here. I'm really excited. It was midlife that really was an opening for me, and a time of many challenges, as I'm sure many women can relate. And with that challenges, there came a lot of opportunities. And yeah, it was a time of there was something yearning inside of me that was, there's something more here. There's something more. And what is it? And I just didn't really know where to turn.
So, I mean, I've noticed that, at one point in our life, we do things that may be led or not led. We call it coincidences when we don't. And later in life, we sort of see the thread. So you started in a radiation therapy. Did you see a connection to what you're currently doing, or did it just seem like one thing and now it's something else, or what's going on for you on that level?
Yeah, well, I can't say I saw the thread 25 years ago. But what I did see was an underlying questioning about I remember when I was 18 years old, I was like, there's got to be this mind-body connection, like that was back in the 80s. So there wasn't a lot of literature and accessibility to the internet, obviously. So it was just something percolating within. And then I found myself going down a path of very medical field. And even though I loved my job there working with cancer patients, it wasn't allowing me to really explore the spirituality and my soul calling as I kind of am aware of now.
Okay. And so, well, let's just get into that. What is your soul calling? When did you discover that? Because I find that the practitioners that, and this is definitely a bias, but it's also because that's what I've been told a million times, that the practitioners who find their soul calling, usually through experiences that they've had to go through, are the ones most able to listen and connect with the people they can help. So whereas if it's more like this would be interesting, or that kind of level of interest, it's interesting, but it doesn't go deeper. So was there anything that you were wanting to share in your life that sort of, was all part of this?
Well, it was in my relationship, actually, that I had a lot of challenges, and I blamed my husband for everything. And he was having issues, struggling with alcohol dependency. And so there was a lot of evidence built up that it was all his fault. And I sat across from a divorce lawyer thinking, I've got to get out of this. Like, I can't do this anymore. And it was a real struggle in our relationship, and it was chaos in our family, and I just wanted out. And sitting across from the divorce lawyer kind of was that wake up call for me. And I realized that, well, along the way, fate would have it that I met my spiritual teachers along the way, and was really enlightened, well, just told, or just came into understanding that it wasn't all his fault, and that my thoughts about where everything was in our relationship and what the situation was contributing to the whole dynamic and the whole dance. And I'd never thought about that before. I was always pointing the finger out. And when I pointed it back at myself, I was like, oh, okay, there's more to it than this. And it was never about blame. It was not about blaming me or blaming him, but it was really coming to understand that this was the path that I was meant to take, regardless of the pain and the agony and the whole, just everything to do with the struggles in our relationship. And so I used that to really mine the gold and my whole family is transformed from that experience. So I find myself wanting to share that because it's like such an important thing to realize that in relationship, it's not all as it seems. And I know that I had a soul contract with my husband, that we were meant to be here and to go through this. And so that it is an opportunity, and it was a real opportunity regardless of everything that I went through.
Wow. It's interesting you bring up soul contract, because our children choose us, okay. But we really feel like on some level we choose our partners, right? So there's a deeper level, because one way to deal with this is saying, okay, you don't want to live this type of life. This is, crazy. It's enough. He goes to get help. You get, help, because obviously it's difficult. And then, people part ways. But you were compelled to go through it. Like, it was important to go to actually, but not as a victim, is what I'm hearing.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And the thing that was really apparent to me is that I wanted out so badly, but what I really needed to do was go in. And that was the most amazing, just understanding that this is what I need to do. This is my path. And it was really only that knowledge that I can do this. This is a path for me to heal my family. And it's it's been pretty miraculous.
So at this point, it seems like it's healed your whole family. Does that mean that also with your husband, he has healed and come to see the whole family and the beauty of what has happened?
Well, one thing that I tune into every time is that we're here to heal our own minds, not to change anyone else's behavior. And this issues still are there. They still, it still happens. There's still issues where it comes up, but that's another opportunity for me to go in and see where I need to heal. And so it's not ever about changing someone else's behavior. There's always an opportunity to look at where that healing needs to be.
So it's like it's like life. Huh? It's an ongoing process and readjustment. So in the work that you do with, I mean, I imagine that this is not so uncommon a problem that many women would be having, because it's, you know, it is quite a prevalent problem in our society, both ways, but either partner for that matter. But how do you, I'm really interested in, you clearly you're willing to go through things, but you're not a victim. How would you describe what are the qualities, so to speak, of a, and I don't know what to, I don't like the word survivor, I don't like any of these other words either, but a person who's not, I would say a creator, one who creates their life compared to a victim.
Yeah, exactly. You've just basically nailed it, like on the head. And that is exactly it, is that we are creator beings, and that we have the power in our thoughts and our minds to create our realities. And so if you're in victim, you're inviting more of that in, and you're suffocated by it all. You can't see any other way. And so it's kind of the victim mindset will really keep you stuck. And so it's not easy to get out of that, and to say that, okay, I am responsible for my thoughts. But when you realize that the creative being that you are, and that when you align your thoughts and your intentions with positive thoughts and thoughts of love, then the universe is that's aligned self, like the universe is open to more love. Right? So it's aligning yourself with love, and really there's only love or fear at the base emotions. So if you choose fear, that's what you're going to attract more of.
And I think too, when you're in your it's like an acknowledgement of being responsible, a player in your life, right? You are part and parcel, but you're definitely part of the life you have around you, right? I think, at least I think it's easier to get more connected to your wise woman, or to your intuition, to, you know, like if you were, I mean, in some relationships, it could be very dangerous. I mean, your life could be, you know, at stake. I mean, so many women are beaten. There's so much that is, there is evident danger possible. And I think the thing is that we can't lump everything together, but if you can connect back to taking the responsibility of you, but also knowing when it's not safe, when it really isn't safe, you know, I think that probably that's like not being the victim anymore, you know, when you can actually you know, I'd say more on that. Or,
well, thank you for making that distinction, because like there is always that threat in, and it wouldn't be to stay in that and risk your life. And so that would be something that you would want to make sure you're out of harm's way, and that you have the ability to take care of yourself, because it's really about coming back to loving yourself unconditionally. And when you love yourself and accept yourself unconditionally, then that's what you're putting out into the world. And so you have to start with being in a space where your body and your nervous system is calm, and you're open, your body's open to that kind of feedback, right? Because if you're in a state of alarm, in a state of fight or flight, then healing is not possible.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
you know that.
Manon Bolliger here, and I want to thank you for taking actionable steps towards engaging your healing journey and helping others discover their path by watching, sharing, subscribing, and reviewing these podcasts. Every review and share helps spread the word, these different perspectives and choices and options for healing. And to thank you, I'd like to invite you to sign up to my free 7-sequence email tips on health and healing for everyday life. You can go to healerscafe.com/tips. Thanks so much.
I don't have to tell you that.
Well, we go back a little bit through Bowen College, and actually, I was going to ask you, how do you then work with people? Because that's, I mean, seems obvious. You have Bowen therapy, which, when you say, connect to realizing you're not in fight or flight, I mean, that's got to be one of the most amazing tools to allow you to recalibrate and see for real where you're at, because often we have our bodies on overdrive giving us messages that aren't even true anymore, right? Which is what happens with our minds, but also with our bodies. But so how is that now in your practice? How do you work with people? How do you what happens these days? It's been 2 very busy years of lots of restriction here. How has life been for you? I mean, these are conversations with therapists. So
yeah, well, actually, everything mostly went online. So I had to re-pivot everything to go towards more coaching. And so I've been in that process of redefining everything as a practitioner. And there's an opportunity in Lower Gibson's that I'm going to be starting up a Bowen clinic in the near future. And so it'll be great to be working on people again and have that opportunity, because of the state of the world. Everyone is in, like, how much fear have we been immersed in the last 2 years. So just to get on working on people and bringing them back into their bodies and back into the resetting the nervous system to be in that calm mode. And then it seems far more receptive to doing coaching work. Yeah.
I mean, I know that intrinsically, because I believe in that so deeply. But it always thrills me to see that it's true, for other practitioners that are able to see that balance, that it's bringing people back to who they are. Really, in the essence of who they are, right? It's not like, and again, without putting down any therapy, because I think we always find the therapy we need when we do. Sometimes we hurt a lot, but it's kind of like, to me, I see it as speaking a language that the body knows that it can auto-regulate, right? And I think that's so important compared to practitioners sort of deciding, okay, we have to fix this or do that. Like, it's less of a doing therapy than a being therapy for a physical therapy, right?
Yes,
so
definitely.
I've always seen how when we do any inner work, or or the kind of work you're doing, working with midlife crisis
or opportunity.
Opportunities, exactly. Including menopause potentially, or whatever.
At the time is ripe, right? And women are really, like, the state of the world and everything that's going on, and the kind of looking at what is happening, the crumbling of the old world, and this really, like, people are hungry for something different, hungry for intuition and language of the heart and connection and peace and really fulfilling lives. and it's you know, the time of the divine feminine, right? Like this is, and it's, so it's an exciting time. It's a really exciting time as well, because people are ready for change. Women are ready for change, and women are going to be the leaders of this change in the world.
Yeah, I think so. Definitely, you know, it's been a long time coming.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I think it's definitely that time now, for sure. So what have been, besides your personal life and how you got into doing the work you do and the passion behind it, what have been some of the challenges, so it's a hard one during COVID times, but
Mm-hmm.
been the challenges, the things that you didn't expect to be as difficult as they were, to because you basically started a new type of practice, right?
Yes,
Um,
exactly.
yeah, what has been for you challenges and the successes you've had?
Well, just being here today is a huge success for me. I don't think I would have seen this 2 years ago, where I had this perfectionism thing going down, and everything, it had to be perfect, and I couldn't make mistakes, and it was, I was very wanting to stay small and not be seen, and the thought of putting myself out there was paralyzing. And so, again, COVID was a real opportunity to switch that up. And how am I going to do this? How am I going to get over myself? And how am I going to get out there and be seen and heard if I'm going to stay in my house and not go and do anything, not do anything? So it was a long journey. It was challenging, and but had to be done. And so it's very freeing that I don't have to be perfect. I don't have to have it all the answers. I don't have to do it all right, and I can make mistakes, and the world still goes on. So that was really an eye-opening experience for me, and very exciting, because it's just opened things up hugely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's interesting. I think back of our little group in it's interesting, the name Wide Awake to Marketing, right? It's
Hmm.
wide awake because you have to be awake. And I don't mean woke, just for the
No, thank you.
craziness. Just to be clear. But it's like, to be so focused, as I think we all start that way, on our own imperfections or our own not good enough or our own whatever story it is that we have learned unconsciously, usually in early childhood,
Hmm.
by well-meaning parents, of course. So the thing is, it's still our stuff, right? And we have to deal with it,
Yeah.
and to come to a point where we realize that our message, that what we want to share, is actually more important to us than our own foibles and weaknesses and our ineptitudes and our own whatever. It's like we transcend big aspects of our ego
Hmm.
that really kept us small and safe, which is
Yes, exactly. And that was the job of the ego when we were children, right? So here we are as adults, and I want to be an adult and not kind of continue to have those limiting beliefs, and just keep me small and safe. And yeah, definitely.
no, and I think that just and it's funny because in some ways what we did as a group was also holistic. It was the marketing with the emotions, with the passion, the purpose, and everyone's own individuality, right? And I think that is the feminine way of the future. in
Hmm.
and this is an example in marketing, but so many people in healthcare limit themselves because of this fear, and I think now more than ever, we need to get past ourselves and we need to get out in the world and we need to share what we've got, because it's not as if people aren't suffering,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
there's going to be, lots of it, and lots of disappointments, lots of unexpected, there's so much going on right now that I think it's really the time for healers as well,
It is.
to be seen. And, if you're the best kept secret, it's,
Oh yeah. I'm not, who wants that anymore, right?
yeah. So what about something that, that I guess something you've learned about helping people, an insight. I'm just throwing a thought out there, but something again that you weren't expecting.
I think the power of listening, and for people to really just be heard.
Right.
And how powerful that is.
Yeah. How much is missing in our society.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm not surprised about that.
Yeah. And especially over the last few years where the connection has really been taken away from our society. And so people need that connection. They need that, like, we're wired for connection, right? We're wired for that connection. That's something beyond a need. That's like something that's just so deep and necessary. And so when you have that disconnect, you're disconnected from society, you're disconnected from yourself. It's really, for someone to hold a space and to listen is a very, very powerful thing.
And when you say that, it's really true. And it's interesting how when there's commonalities, in people's lives experiences or what they've gone through in their life, whether it's dealing with, a partner who's suffering from, problems with alcohol or abuse or trauma or whatever it is, right? To be able to have a therapist or a practitioner that has gone through that is so valuable, because you feel heard in a different level.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, I mean, maybe speak on that. And actually, I'm going to let you finish and share what else you want to share.
Yeah, I do think that, Manon, I really feel that, you have insight because you've been there and you've lived it, and you know the pain and the suffering and the agony, and you know the behaviors that come along with it. You know the everything that you want your partner to change, right? You think that you're in this relationship so they're going to make you happy, and that's not the case. And so it's really like you're the only one that needs to do your work to find that level of contentment and joy and love and deep unconditional love for yourself. And the rest is gravy. It's just like it's really oh gosh, I'm lost for words. Yeah, it's just that it's
joy.
It's joy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And to know, and also, so you know that, and so you can envision where the client is, and you can envision how they can get to be in a different place, how they can bring joy and contentment and love and happiness into their life. Because I did it, so right. And so I feel that's like I'm a model for that. Like if I can do it and this is a path, then it's available to you too.
Yeah, exactly. May not be the exact same path, but it'll be
exactly.
And there is a path, there is a way, then it's at least worth.
Yeah. And I think to finish up, just to say that, just to trust that you are on the right path, and that there is a divine plan. And for you it might not be evident when you're where you're at, but just have that faith and that trust that that plan will unfold, and that you're exactly where you're meant to be right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you very much. And also, where can people follow you? Because I do see you on social media. It will put all those things under.
Okay, yeah, I'm on Instagram, and I have a Facebook group, Miracles in Midlife Sisterhood, that I go to, that I have for women 40 over, and Instagram, and my website as well.
Right, and it's Step Into Balance, is that?
The website is sarahcormack.ca.
Your name, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Yep. Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Manon. It's been great. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you for joining us at the Healers Café with Manon Bolliger. Continue your healing journey by visiting thehealerscafe.com and her website, and discover how to listen to your body and reboot for optimal health.